Let's meet the party panel and decide. We've got attorney and Republican strategist Alexandra Wilkes. We've got liberal radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, Leslie Marshall, and Dynamic Money CEO and radio host of The Chris Burns Show. It is the appropriately named Chris Burns. Welcome, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Woo!
Excited to be here.
And solemn Ash Wednesday to you. And thank you very much for being here. So let's talk a little bit about this, because I know this could have a greater impact on the global economy because of fear in and of itself. And the president touched on this a little bit. You think about, curtailing some of your summer plans. But Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are being a little bit irresponsible when they are talking about, really fanning the flames of coronavirus hysteria in order to tank the market, because they know if the economy suffers, so will the president.
Yeah, I think the president did exactly what he has to do tonight. He was the calm and collected commander-in-chief. We have the situation under control. I'm bringing in the vice president because I'm, lending the seriousness to the situation that it deserves. But at the same time, Americans shouldn't panic, but they should be flexible when it comes to making plans. I think that he, said what he needed to say. But I do think that if you're the Democrats right now, there is a little bit of a political calculation, as there is in everything these days. Sure. In saying to yourself, well, look, our debates were a disaster. Our candidates are no good. Let's sort of stoke the fears and sow some chaos into the news cycle. And I think that it's a news cycle that lends itself nicely to a media that counts on clicks and likes to fuel its coverage.
And you really, when you're talking about hysteria, you really don't have to correct your own record, which is problematic. But do you think the president did a good job in terms of transparency? Because he did have Alex Azar there. He did have Dr. Fauci from NIH, as well as Vice President Pence. So you got sort of a multi-pronged response that was a little bit more comprehensive than what we've seen in the past. Did that make you feel better?
It made me feel better to hear from medical professionals.
Yes.
Not to hear from the president or the vice president, because politicians pretending to be doctors, and even the president, just one-offing it and just brushing it off. Look, funding was cut to the CDC just last year with this administration. That was a problem. Democrats, myself included, were angry about that, just in case something like this happens. Mm-hmm. 1. 2, we're not prepared. My husband's a physician. We're not prepared for this. And one of the reasons we're not prepared for this, because the World Health Organization, and not just the United States, which has incredible, I agree with you, medical technology, so does the UK, so does Italy, so does Germany, as far as cutting edge. We work with them on an international global level with the World Health Organization to try and come up with the vaccine. One of the problems with this virus, which we had in the 50s, mm-hmm. right? Coronavirus, we had it. Some of us maybe even had it. It's a different strain. The problem with this strain is a lot of viruses, where do the fatalities occur? People whose immune systems are compromised. The old
that's
or the very
with
young.
Every virus.
But this virus, no. The people that are dying, if you look at people that have lost their lives, they're not extremely ill. They're not extremely old.
People who are
or
asking
extremely
for it.
young. No.
Well, politicians are trying to spin this. This is not primarily a political issue. Like, we can't say Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi are the primary market drivers here, or Donald Trump. The market is down significantly.
Fear is the market driver.
Fear is the market driver.
But people changing their behavior or selling things, and when that's rooted in fear, that's when it's dangerous.
But the groups that start that sell-off are institutional, massive money managers. They're not individuals. And so these are politicians responding to the fear the market already has. It's not because the politicians started that.
What if they can't unring that bell?
Well, that's a good point. But the thing is, they're not going to be in control whether the market goes up or down.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys, but when I watched the press conference tonight, what I saw was a mixed message. The politicians were saying everything's fine. Larry Kudlow comes out, a day or two ago, and says, we have this contained. And then they bring the medical professionals on, and suddenly it's, well, we should all remember the preparedness for if this does expand into the country. We should wash our hands. It felt a lot like a 1950s Cold War, get under the desk, we'll be okay scenario to me. And it didn't exactly reassure me that we actually have this under control.
Because they don't. We don't, and they don't really know.
I disagree, though, because that's what survivalism is. It doesn't mean that you assume when you go outside it's going to be the end of civilization. It just means you're smart and you're prepared for it. I don't have a problem with that, but I don't live my life wrapped in a prophylactic bubble hoping that someone doesn't sneeze on
I don't know why you don't. I mean, obviously you should. But the point is, with the
point.
markets, going back to the markets, I mean, the reality is people are freaking out about this
Yes.
on the individual level now. And the point is, no one knows. The director of the IMF came out and said, we just don't have enough information.
No one knows anything.
You know what I'm
Even
freaking out
doctors.
about? I'm freaking out about everybody more concerned about the economy and the markets and all the people that are dying throughout the world and the people that could die here.
I'm freaking out
if we
because
can't get it
Chelsea's
under
yelling in
control.
my ear, and we got to go. I don't want to make Chelsea upset. All right, panel is sticking around. We have much more with them. And coming up, 2020 Democrats fighting for their lives in South Carolina. How did they do in last night's chaotic debate? Chris Wilson and the panel next.